So I'm going to talk about how to be with a traumatized nervous system. A nervous system which feels a lot of panic and stress, usually because you've been through something difficult, something scary in your life. But not necessarily you might have inherited this off your parents. You might not know the reason why you've got a pent up, tense nervous system. But you don't need to know the reason, really. Sometimes it can be useful to think in terms of how you would approach an animal that's traumatized. So if there was a traumatized animal in a cage the size of your room, for instance, and in this analogy, that traumatized animal is your own nervous system. If that animal was in the room and you just charged towards it and picked it up, then that would probably make that animal's nervous system even more fearful. Almost certainly it would. We all know that in order to heal trauma, we need to love ourselves. We need to meet the body with love. We need to meet this nervous system with love. It's love that heals this nervous system. Now, the intelligence of the heart, when approaching a traumatized animal, knows, without you needing to have been told this, there's a wisdom in the heart that knows you don't approach that animal quickly. You give it space. The most appropriate way to approach a traumatized animal is to give it lots of space. Let it know that you're not a danger. Let it know that you're not a threat. You let it know that you're not a threat by taking space, giving it space. Not rushing in and stroking it and grabbing it and trying to give it loads of love. You give it space, and gradually, over time, that animal, the more space you give it, the more it gets used to you, the more it starts to recognize you as a benevolent presence. The more it starts to realize and understand slowly, very slowly over time, that you're not going to harm it. Naturally, the animal will come closer and closer to you. And whereas before you were leaving food by the door, watching it through the window, and then you were leaving food on the side and staying in the room and watching it eat, and slowly you get closer and closer to it, very gently, very gradually, until eventually the animal will feel safe to come to you, to come close to you, to curl up within your lap, to curl up within your arms. And in doing that, its nervous system will completely relax and release. And a certain stage will come where it feels completely safe with you and is running around with you, playing with you, whatever. Now, sometimes we need to take this same approach with our own nervous system if we've experienced trauma. Sometimes the best course of action is to and you can sense into, you can feel into this now, you can do this now, is you gently give your nervous system this loving space. You don't rush in and try and fix it. You don't rush in and try and change it. You don't rush in and try and heal it and give it loads of love. You give it space. And that space is love. That space is loving. That space is caring. You just gently touch in with your nervous system and allow it to come closer to you. You gently place your attention within it. You gently place your attention on it without trying to change it. Without trying to fix it. And you let it come closer to you. Now when you first start doing this, you might feel it wrestling, even like screaming a little bit. You might feel it frustrated, tense, all sorts of emotions come up, and that's okay. You just allow it to express however it wants to express within you. You're not trying to change it. You're not trying to fix it. You're just gently curious about it. You're gently touching in with it with your awareness. And it might be hiding, like the animal. The animal, when you first go into the room and it's traumatized, will go to the corner, it'll hide behind a chair. And your trauma hides. It hides. It needs to learn to trust you. And if it's hiding, then that's okay. You let it hide. You make your presence known. You make your presence known simply by being there. By gently placing your attention in your body. But you're not trying to force anything. You're not trying to fix anything. You have patience. And you just give it as much space and as much time as it needs to feel safe, to come closer to you. Space and a gentle, loving attention, which isn't trying to change anything. The trauma will unravel on its own. It has its own intelligence. Just like the animal's body, the animal's nervous system has its own intelligence. You could not force the animal to be free from their trauma. You can't shake it out of the animal. There's nothing you could possibly do to make that animal less traumatized. All you can do is be a safe, loving presence, a gentle, safe, loving presence for the traumatized animal to feel safe, to relax around you. And that's what we are for our own nervous systems. We're this gentle, spacious, loving presence. And we're not in any rush at all to fix ourselves. A bit like you can take the attitude of a gardener. Say a gardener moves into a new house with this new garden. And they plant a load of flowers and trees and shrubs. And they see the garden's just an empty plot of land to begin with. Now there's nothing that the gardener could really do to rush the process of that plot of land becoming a magnificent garden. The gardener can't do anything to force the trees to grow more quickly. The gardener can't do anything to force the whole garden to flower. He just plants the seeds. And we have this seed within us, the seed of trauma within us. The seed of these emotional, traumatic energies within our body. And actually, when we give them attention like this, when we gently give space to our bodies, over time, those seeds flower. Because there's a gift within our trauma. There's a gift within a traumatized nervous system. It flowers into this loving presence. It flowers into the light of being. It all flowers into the light of being. There's no mistakes with trauma. It's here to help us awaken to being. It's here to help the flowering of consciousness. The flowering of this unconditionally loving presence into the world. And just like a garden takes time, months and years to grow, to mature, to fully flourish and flower, it's the same with our nervous systems. The fuel is there, the seeds are there, and they take time to flourish and flower into the true essence of what they really are. And all we can do is water and feed the seeds, these inner seeds, with our gentle, loving presence, with a gentle, loving, warm, welcoming presence which isn't pushing and fighting our experience, but is allowing it to unfold and unravel at its own pace. As we breathe, and gently feel. It's all going to be okay, my friends. This trauma is here to help us awaken to this absolute goodness within our own hearts, the goodness of being. But it takes a little bit of time.